The wind cut through my coat at the gravesite, but I barely noticed. My mother's death had left a weight in my chest heavier than any cold could touch. She'd been my anchor, kind, steady, the one who taught me to keep going no matter what. Now, as the priest's voice droned on, I watched her casket sink into the earth. This was it. The final goodbye. My older sister, Claire, stood beside me, her face blank, her posture rigid. She wasn't crying, not like me. I knew her too well, her tight lips, her restless hands. She wasn't grieving. She was waiting. As soon as the service ended, before the relatives could even offer their condolences, Claire grabbed my arm and pulled me behind a tree. "Emma, we need to talk," she hissed, her grip tight. I sighed, already dreading this. "Not now, Claire," I said, glancing at the crowd. But Claire didn't care about timing. She never did. "Give me my half of the inheritance," she demanded, her voice low but sharp. "I know Mom left you everything." My stomach twisted. Mom's will had been clear, the family cottage, her savings, and her $4 million estate, all of it went to me. Not because I was her favorite, but because she knew Claire. Knew she'd burned through Dad's inheritance years ago on parties, trips, and bad bets. Knew she'd do it again. "This isn't the place," I said, my voice steady despite the ache in my throat. Claire scoffed, her eyes narrowing. "Don't play innocent, Emma. That money's just sitting there. I'm your sister, I deserve my share." I met her gaze, my mother's words echoing in my head, "Don't let Claire near the money, Emma. She'll ruin herself." "Mom made her choice," I said. "It wasn't mine to make." Her face hardened, her voice dripping with venom. "Always the golden child, huh? You think you're better than me?" The accusation stung, but I didn't flinch. "It's not about that," I said. "It's about responsibility. Mom knew you'd waste it." Claire's hands clenched into fists, her face flushing. "You'll regret this," she spat, then turned and stormed off, her heels sinking into the grass. I watched her go, my chest tight. Mom's warning rang louder now, Claire's her own worst enemy. I hadn't even had time to mourn, and already greed was tearing us apart. I stood by the grave, alone, the cold finally seeping in. Claire thought she could bully me into giving in. She was about to learn I wasn't that easy to break. Claire's words clung to me like damp fog as I left the cemetery. I drove home in silence, my mother's absence a physical ache. The cottage, her savings, the $4 million, she'd trusted me with it all, not out of love alone but out of necessity. Claire's demand for her share echoed in my mind, each syllable a reminder of how far she'd fallen. I sank onto my couch, the apartment too quiet, and let the memories flood in. 5 years ago, when Dad died, he left us each $150,000. I'd used mine to pay off student loans, save for a rainy day. Claire? She'd treated it like a lottery win. Designer clothes, a trip to Vegas, nights at casinos where she'd bet thousands on a single hand. Within a year, it was gone. Mom tried to help, loans, second chances, even paying for a financial advisor. Claire ignored it all, always chasing the next thrill. By the time Mom got sick, Claire was borrowing money from friends, dodging calls from creditors. Mom's will wasn't cruel, it was practical. She'd told me one night, her voice weak, "I can't let Claire destroy what I built. You'll keep it safe, Emma." Now, Claire's accusation, golden child, cut deeper than I wanted to admit. I wasn't perfect. I'd made mistakes, doubted myself, but I'd never betrayed Mom's trust. Claire had, over and over. I pulled out my phone, staring at her last text from before the funeral, "Call me when you're ready to talk about the will." Already scheming, even then. I wanted to grieve, to miss Mom without this fight, but Claire wouldn't let me. Her greed was a shadow I couldn't escape. I thought of the cottage, its creaky porch, the way Mom would sit there with her tea, watching the lake. It was more than a house, it was her heart. Claire didn't see that. To her, it was just dollar signs. My anger flared, but so did guilt. She was my sister. Shouldn't I help her? Give her something? But Mom's voice cut through, she'll ruin herself. I couldn't ignore that truth. I stood, pacing, my grief tangled with resolve. Claire thought she could guilt me, scare me into handing over what wasn't hers. She was wrong. I'd spent years cleaning up her messes, lending her money, lying to Mom to cover for her. No more. I opened my laptop and emailed my lawyer, Sarah Klein. Claire's making demands about the inheritance. Can we review the will's protections? I hit send, my hand steady. Claire wasn't just fighting me, she was fighting Mom's legacy. And I wouldn't let her win. I looked at a photo on my shelf, me, Claire, Mom, laughing at the cottage years ago. Claire's smile was wide, carefree, before the gambling, before the lies. I wanted that sister back, but I couldn't save her from herself. Not yet. For now, I'd protect what Mom left me. Claire could rage all she wanted, but I was done being her safety net. 2 weeks after the funeral, I needed to breathe. The weight of Mom's death, Claire's demands, the endless paperwork, it was suffocating. I booked a weekend in Maine, a quiet coastal town where I could walk the cliffs and let my grief unravel. For 3 days, I wandered, ate lobster rolls, and sat by the ocean, the waves drowning out my thoughts. It wasn't healing, not yet, but it was space to exist. On the 4th day, my phone buzzed. Claire's name flashed on the screen, and my stomach sank. I opened the text, expecting another demand for money. Instead, I read, "I've taken the cottage. Changed the locks. It's mine now." I stared, rereading it, then laughed out loud in the middle of a sleepy cafe. The absurdity hit me like a wave. Claire, in her reckless, delusional way, thought she could just claim Mom's cottage, my cottage, by swapping out the locks. Did she think that erased a legal will? That I'd just shrug and walk away? I sipped my coffee, amusement replacing the dread. This was so Claire, impulsive, brash, always assuming she could bend the world to her will. She'd overlooked one tiny detail: the cottage was in my name, backed by Mom's airtight will and a security system tied to my lawyer's office. Changing the locks didn't make it hers, it made her a trespasser. I typed a reply, keeping it light, "Nice try, Claire. Let me know how that goes." I hit send, flagged down my waiter, and booked a flight home. By the time I landed, my amusement had sharpened into focus. I called Sarah, my lawyer, from the airport. "Emma, I figured you'd call," she said, her tone calm but pointed. "We got an alert from the cottage's security system, unauthorized entry 3 days ago. I waited for your go-ahead." I wasn't surprised. Mom had been meticulous, setting up cameras, alarms, and legal safeguards. Claire's stunt was bold but stupid. "I want this handled cleanly," I said. "No drama, just results." Sarah outlined my options: press charges for trespassing or give Claire a chance to leave before escalating. I knew Claire wouldn't back down easily, she was too stubborn, too desperate. But I also knew her weakness: she hated being outmaneuvered. "Let's give her a nudge," I said. "I'll go to the cottage myself." I hung up, a plan forming. Claire thought she'd won. She was about to learn how wrong she was. The next morning, I pulled up to the cottage, the lake glinting under the sun. A locksmith's van parked beside me, the driver checking his clipboard. "Emma Thompson?" he asked. I nodded. "That's me." "You've got the ownership papers?" He held up a file. "All here. Let's get started." I smiled, glancing at the cottage. Claire was in there, probably smug, thinking she'd outsmarted me. Not today. The locksmith set to work, the drill's hum cutting through the quiet. I leaned against my car, arms crossed, waiting. 5 minutes in, the front door flew open. Claire stood there, her hair messy, her eyes blazing. "What the hell are you doing?" she shouted, storming onto the porch. I straightened, my voice calm. "Changing the locks. You know, since you changed them without permission." Her face reddened. "You can't do this." This is my house. I raised an eyebrow, holding up my phone with the will's digital copy. Funny, because Mom's will says it's mine. You're trespassing, Claire. She laughed, bitter and loud. Your house? Mom wouldn't cut me out like that. You manipulated her, didn't you? I didn't flinch. Mom knew you'd burn through everything, just like you did with Dad's money. She trusted me to keep this place safe. Claire's hands balled into fists. I'm your sister. I deserve my share. I stepped closer, my voice steady. You deserve a chance to leave, Claire. Pack your stuff and go, or I call the cops. Her eyes narrowed, her voice dropping to a hiss. You wouldn't dare. You're too soft. I smiled, cold. Try me. She paced, her confidence cracking. I'll fight this in court, she snapped. I'll prove you stole my inheritance. I shrugged. Good luck. The will's airtight, and you've got no claim. Last chance, leave now, or I make this official. Claire glared, her jaw tight, then spun and slammed the door. The locksmith glanced at me. Keep going? I nodded. Finish it. 20 minutes later, he handed me new keys. All set, Miss Thompson. I thanked him, then walked inside. Claire was in the living room, shoving clothes into a bag, her movements jerky. This isn't over, she muttered. I leaned against the doorframe. It is unless you push me further. Then it gets worse. She froze, her eyes meeting mine, and for the first time I saw a flicker of doubt. She grabbed her bag and stormed out, the door banging behind her. I locked it, my hand steady. The cottage was mine again, and Claire was out of moves. A week later, I was back at the cottage, sorting through Mom's things, when my phone buzzed at 2 a.m. Motion detected, front entrance. My heart raced as I opened the security app. There was Claire, in a dark hoodie, prying at the door with a crowbar. Beside her, a man I didn't know whispered urgently, glancing around. This wasn't just Claire being stubborn, this was a break-in. My blood ran cold, but I didn't hesitate. I dialed 911. Someone's breaking into my house, I said, my voice steady. I have cameras. They're at the front door now. The dispatcher kept me on the line, promising officers were en route. I watched the feed, my pulse pounding. Claire and her accomplice froze as sirens wailed nearby. The man bolted, vanishing into the dark, but Claire stood there, stunned, as 2 police cars pulled up. Hands up, an officer shouted. Claire dropped the crowbar, her face pale. They cuffed her, pressing her against the car. I stepped onto the porch, the cold air sharp against my skin. Claire's eyes met mine, burning with rage. You called the cops on me? She spat. I crossed my arms. You broke into my house. What did you expect? An officer approached. Ma'am, do you want to press charges? Claire's bravado faltered, her hands trembling in the cuffs. She thought I'd back down, that family ties would stop me. She was wrong. But as I opened my mouth, I hesitated. Jail wouldn't fix Claire, it would just fuel her resentment. I thought of Mom, how she'd wanted to protect Claire, even from herself. I turned to the officer. Can I speak to her first? He nodded, stepping back. I faced Claire, my voice low. You've got 2 choices, face charges for this, or agree to financial counseling. No more games, no more lies. You pick. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. Counseling? You think I'm some charity case? I didn't blink. I think you're running out of options. She laughed, bitter, but it cracked. Fine. Counseling. Whatever. I nodded to the officer. No charges, but I want it on record, she's agreeing to a program. They uncuffed her, and she rubbed her wrists, glaring. You're not saving me, she muttered. I met her gaze. I'm giving you a chance. Don't waste it. She walked away, head high, but I saw the shake in her shoulders. Claire was cornered, and she knew it. 3 months later, I sat on the cottage porch, the lake calm under a pink sky. Claire had started financial counseling, grudgingly at first, but her counselor said she was showing up, even asking questions. It wasn't a miracle, but it was something. I'd moved into the cottage full-time, painting the walls, planting flowers where Mom used to. It felt like home again, like Mom was still here in the creak of the floorboards, the smell of the lake. Uncle Tom stopped by one afternoon, his truck rattling up the drive. "Looks good, Emma," he said, nodding at the fresh paint. I smiled, handing him a lemonade. "Feels good." We sat on the porch, the silence comfortable. "You did right by your mom," he said. "And by Claire, even if she doesn't see it yet." I sighed. "I want to believe she can change, but it's hard." He nodded. "She's your sister. Doesn't mean you let her walk over you, but it means you don't give up." His words settled in, heavy but true. I'd fought for the cottage, for Mom's legacy, but I'd also fought for Claire, in my own way. I didn't trust her yet, maybe I never would fully, but I hoped. That night, I got a text from Claire, finished first phase of counseling. Not as bad as I thought. I stared at it, a small smile tugging at my lips. It wasn't an apology, but it was a start. I replied, "Glad to hear it. Keep going." I set my phone down, looking out at the lake. Mom's voice echoed softly, "You'll keep it safe." I had. And maybe, just maybe, I was helping Claire find her way back, too. I leaned back in Mom's old rocking chair, the breeze warm against my skin. The cottage was mine, my heart was healing, and for the first time in months, I felt hope. Not just for me, but for us.